Hey everybody, this is Nate Smoyer, and you're listening to the Tech Nest Podcast. This is the show where we sit down with the leaders in real estate and technology to find out what they're doing to transform the way we buy, sell, and invest in real estate. If you've got an interest in real estate and technology, stick around. You're in the right place. All right, we've got a great show for you today. And let me just read it straight from their website here. The number one smart home automation software for short-term rentals. We've got James Strong. He's one of the co-founders and the CTO at Rabu. They bring a solution to short-term rentals that is really cool. So, all right, picture this. You've got 3 different rentals, right? They're vacation rentals. They're on different ends of the town. And actually, you live out in the county. You don't live in town. And suddenly, for whatever reason, you want to change the passwords on all your Wi-Fi routers, or change and update the username and password on those. And maybe you didn't have one originally, but now you want to put one on. Well, you actually have to go out to the property to do that, unless you're using Rabu. You can do that remotely. Or maybe your vacation rental tenants come in and they're using your TV and they didn't like your Netflix account, so they signed out of yours and signed into theirs. Okay. And then they left never signing out. And then your next tenants come in and out of courtesy, they sign out of someone else's account, but now there's no Netflix. And you're like, hey, I don't have Netflix, but where's the rest of the TV? You can control this remotely again. So this is great stuff. And they're not just doing internet and TV. They've got climate control, keyless entry, but they are one of the very few solutions working on the Wi-Fi side. So let's jump right into this. I think James has got a lot of cool things to say. I love the direction. Also, he's got some really great advice for founders out there when considering building your brand. Kick back, relax, enjoy the show. Well, hey, James, welcome to the show.
Hey, Nate, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Glad to have you here. I'm a little jealous. You've got a glass of wine.
I do indeed.
I've got a can of lime LaCroix, so I'm not doing so shabby. And I got a cup of coffee, but I would like to trade. Well, I appreciate you taking aside time to join us for the show here. I'm excited to talk about what you're doing. Anything that gets into the realms of combining the physical world, I get kind of pumped up about, because I think the future is bright. We have scratched the surface. And so I believe I'm going to learn a ton from you on this one. So before I go too far into it, why don't we start with the basics? Let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is James Strong. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Rabu. We are a smart home automation platform for short-term rentals, focused on automating rentals in the Airbnb, VRBO, et cetera, market.
All right. And so, all right, we have to, we'll take it from the big picture and work our way down into it. So straight from the website, number one, smart home automation software for short-term rentals. We know what short-term rentals are. We've actually done quite a few episodes recently in this space. And I think it's kind of a popular cultural topic right now in certain cities of talking about the art and the business of. But what is smart home automation software for rentals? Like, you automate doors and doorknobs and things?
Yeah, so that's one of the things we automate for sure. Pretty common practice for some of the people in our industry, and definitely a big need of property managers. Door locks, thermostats, wireless routers, contact sensors, noise monitors, all sorts of IoT devices that are becoming more and more popular in the space.
Mm-hmm. So then let's talk, even extract a little bit further out. So then, as well as automation, we're connecting the physical world and the software world. The big idea or concept that Rabu is coming in and saying, hey, we're gonna solve this problem here.
So to at a high level, really our main objective, what we're looking to solve is creating better guest experiences for the guests coming into the units. That's really the end goal here. And a big piece of that for us is automating manual processes that property managers are having to do so they can focus more on the guests. And then also helping them manage, hundreds of properties at scale so that they can provide a really ideal guest experience for each guest that's staying at their properties.
Got it. Okay. And so first off, before we get into the next minute, I want to just say, I keep going on this tune, and I'm so glad you brought it up, creating a better guest experience, because you're not selling to the guest. You sell to the property owner.
Correct.
And what you described was all the way down to the end user. And this is just something fundamentally I think has been lacking in real estate for far too long, and which gets me excited about services like this, because you're thinking about that end user in the experience from the start. So I just want to say kudos to that, because I think that's noble, and those are the people who do this well are going to win really big. So let's talk specifics then. So what's unique about Rabu that you guys are doing that no one else right now is doing?
Yeah, for sure. So I think what's unique about us is that we are, one of our core values are redefining how properties are managed. And of course, we're doing that through software. And I think what's unique to us is that we are our own customer and we are in the industry ourselves. We started as property managers before we built the software, and we built the software that we currently have from the mindset of a property manager. So I think what's unique to us is our ability to execute on the software and actually have been in the mindset of our customer. We're not just a bunch of tech guys building a piece of software that we think is going to work for a customer. We started off as a property management company in 2017, grew that business. We ended up building internal solutions to help us operate and grow our business more efficiently and effectively. And just earlier this year, launched that technology, and I think that makes us really unique and gives us a competitive advantage in the industry.
Got it. So I'm assuming then you stay at all the Airbnbs and VRBOs wherever you travel then too.
Oh, of course, definitely.
Are you able to remove yourself from analyzing how they manage it with all their smart technology, or do you only stay at places that use your software?
I stay at both to see, I like to stay at a mix of properties to see what people are doing and how they're executing on their brand, what types of technologies they're using, what type of, hardware they're using, what kind of messaging they're using, if they're doing automation, if they're not. So all sorts to kind of, see where the market's at. And it's just really interesting to see where things are going, but kind of a mix of what everything is.
Yeah. And I agree. It is super interesting to see where everything's going. I've stayed at a few places where, it was very traditional, I guess as traditional as Airbnb can be. I walked up and, there's a key box and you punch in the code and you get the key, and then there's a piece of paper on the counter and it tells you how to, set things up and to do all the things. And then I've stayed at a few others that were, a little bit more automated. I haven't gotten to the point where they open the door for you or anything like that. Are you guys, but you're able to make that happen. You can actually remotely open the door, right?
We can remotely unlock the door. Currently, we do not actually open the door for you, but maybe one day we'll see where everything goes. Hopefully, that is my dream, of course, to, as you walk up to the door unlocks for you, opens for you, recognizes that you're, near the unit and knows all of those things. But I think we're a little ways out from that, but looking forward to see that day happen one day in the future.
It should be possible with fobs, right? You just put the fob in your pocket.
I think it's possible through your phone at some point. If you can access, I don't know if fob's even necessary. You have a phone in your pocket all the time. It has your information on it for your reservation. I think it's very, very feasible to think, 5 years from now or even sooner, you're just walking up to a door, it's opening up automatically for you.
So you then, Rabu is like the central hub, and you're connecting to all these different services. So you connect to both the hardware in the house as well as the rental portals, right?
Correct. So that is what our software does. It connects the actual virtual listing and reservation guest information with the actual physical home and devices within the home. That's the core idea around our platform. We work primarily with all the integrations we have. We work with the PMSs. We are not trying to replace a PMS system or an OTA. We're merely kind of trying to integrate with them. You can kind of think of us as the Zapier kind of between the physical home and the PMSs and OTAs.
Right. So then so you're connecting to Airbnb so that you have the guest information, so to speak, or the, bookings and all that. Then maybe you talk with and coordinate with Guesty, who's been a guest on our show.
Yep.
And then you're providing an additional on top of both platforms there.
Yeah, absolutely. Correct.
That's very cool. I love it. So then what are some of the immediate reasons that you're hearing back from people who are using Rabu? What are the most tangible reasons they're saying, hey, we're using this because?
I definitely think one of our advantages is our platform is actual true automation, and I guess that word's that's a really big buzzword in the industry right now, saying that you automate things, and people use that term in a lot of different ways to mean a lot of different things. With our platform, everything is truly automated automated, where you are not having to come into our system, do a ton of configuration, re-add or reset up a bunch of your listings. From the moment you connect the PMS and you connect the hardware in your physical home into our platform, we actually immediately begin performing automations on all of your devices, auto assigning codes, if any type of, and really it gets into really big competitive advantage again is the fact that, we started off as a property management company. So most importantly, we understand all the edge cases, around running a property management company and the operations around it on a day-to-day basis. And within our automations, we've accounted for a lot of those. There are some other solutions out there that, maybe they'll auto assign a guest code, but upon a reservation alteration or cancellation or extension, the property manager is having to go back in and, reassign that code or rechange it. Well, us being property managers, we understood that was a thing that we didn't want to have to deal with if that ever happened, because it's a pretty common use case. You get a guest day of checkout, they ask, either sometimes after their scheduled checkout, they want to extend. Well, we didn't want to have to come in and do additional work to account for that within the platform and, all the operations behind it. So we like to think, our customers really like the fact that we are truly doing automation for you and optimizing, all the hardware in your units at all times. And then definitely our customer service, that's always being there for the customer, helping them, get set up, providing real kind of expertise around which hardware is the best hardware for them. Because we've been through it too, we've dealt with, having to figure out what the best hardware is, having to figure out how to, deal with certain situations. And I think that's a big advantage of ours.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You talk about it might be like because, specifically in this side of the industry, a lot of talk about automation. I feel like there's also a lot of, right now we are seeing maybe an abuse of certain buzzwords, AI being one of them, automation. Absolutely. I mean, no way it automates anything. What is it doing for you? It sounds like you're giving me more work if I have to do it manually, and I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and it depends, sometimes it is automation. I think where it gets blended use is when it comes to, automating actual real physical tasks. I think from a virtual and software perspective, there is a lot of, automated things to send out alerts, to schedule certain things, but there is a piece where we're bridging the gap between the actual physical world and the virtual world of these things. And when you talk about, actually automating the management of, property management, the management side of things, I feel like, bridging that gap is really important. And when you use the word automation for actual physical management, it's important to actually be, automating things.
Yeah. I love it. So let's talk about something here. I read this on your site. You guys talk about the spare bedroom market. It seems like a little bit of, explaining and sharing like what the potential opportunity is. What is the spare bedroom market? How do you define that?
The spare bedroom market is, all of these rooms and houses where people are, not utilizing their, extra rooms that they have available that are within their houses. And I think there's a big market there.
So how many, have you guys come up with any estimations of, is it just how many houses have a spare bedroom, or how many spare bedrooms might be available in the US?
I personally don't know off the top of my head. I think there's big market to be had out there, but I'm not sure myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always have a spare bedroom because we've always, my wife and I, we always want to host people or have people over. So we do keep a spare bedroom, and it's been like, I never thought about it, honestly. Like we've talked about having, becoming an Airbnb, but then, we have a dog, so he's not always friendly to new people. So we're like, that's a bad idea. But I was thinking about it and I was like, man, there's gotta be, when you just start thinking of from that perspective, just from spare bedrooms, not even whole units, the opportunity for something like this, especially, automating, say the back door goes into the guest suite, so to speak. You don't want to have to wake up at 10:30 at night and welcome the person in the house. You want to be able to have them be able to just get to where they're going and be a nice and seamless thing. Because if it's in the spare bedroom and you don't have some sort of method of letting someone in or checking them in or checking them out, or that could create some not so great experiences for the traveler or for the tenant, so to speak, as well as you as the host. Like, it just makes experience that much better.
Yeah, definitely. Or even, I mean, some of the units that we've managed have had separate back entrances to a room that's completely blocked off from the main primary residence. That's a good use case. Or a detached garage. That's where we started, was above a detached garage, and those are great opportunities opportunities to make some extra income for sure.
Yeah, I love it. So how do you guys make money? Where does your monetization model fit in here?
Of course, software is, not free. It comes with us. We have a standard kind of SaaS subscription model, and that's really where we make our money.
And so on the site it says $30 a month. How many listings can I have? How many properties?
So it's $30 a month per property, and that's not including what we consider grouped listings.
Okay.
That is per physical unit itself.
Got it.
And so we help account for and don't charge for, if you have unit A and unit B, but unit C is some combination of unit A and B. Unit C doesn't come in at an additional cost. You just tell us that it belongs to both of these. So we call those group listings. They're becoming more and more popular as the industry kind of grows. But yes, $30 a month per property, unlimited devices. So we don't charge per device. You'd have 58 different device types or 10 locks, 3 thermostats. We don't charge per device. And then an unlimited number of automations. So all of our automations work on your unit at all times.
Wow.
So and we wanted to have a really honest pricing model. We didn't want to charge a percentage of booking revenue and make it all confusing and complicated of what that actually meant. Was it net income? Is the cleaning fee included in that, et cetera? So we wanted just true, honest, flat pricing of $30 a month. And we very well believe and know ourselves that it is worth that per month to not have to deal with things on a daily basis. If you're dealing with a lockbox or, even you think about if you have internet go down and you have to go out to a unit or send someone out to a unit just to unplug it and plug it back in, or, you have someone that forgot to put the key back in the manual lockbox and you have to send someone out there once, or you get a smart lock that you can't unlock remotely and the guest may be confused about how to operate it. You either got to send a locksmith out there or you got to send someone out there. That happens 1 or 2 times in a month. That's well worth the $30 a month to not have to worry about that ever again.
I mean, honestly, like you're saying, if you even bucks an hour is not a whole lot of money on a per hour basis. So if it saves you 1 hour, and that doesn't even account for the additional value you create for your unit, how much more you might be able to get on return because you get better reviews, because you get better ratings on the experience. I mean, Absolutely. It seems like a pretty low cost. One story that stands out in my mind, I've always thought about this. It's just so funny is I'm sure you're familiar with the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Yep, absolutely.
And Brandon Turner's telling a story of how he had a tenant. I think it was an Airbnb. They were short term. They tried it out, and for them it wasn't the right business. But he had a smart lock, but you had to punch in the key code, and the tenant couldn't get in. And then they tried and tried and tried. He's gets on the phone, tries to walk him through it. Finally, he has to drive, and he's already out of town, and rush over there, and it's a terrible time at night or whatever. They just didn't hit the pound sign.
Oh yeah,
or the unlock button. It was working. They just weren't hitting the unlock button
for sure. I'll trust, and that's I've been there too. We bootstrap the property management side of things when we're first getting started, and I've been out to the units at 2 a.m. to let a guest in. When I knew the code worked, I knew it was working, but they just couldn't figure it out at the time because, it was, maybe not the right hardware, et cetera, or, they weren't pressing the check mark and didn't understand. So definitely understand that.
So is there any particular type of rental that makes the most sense for something like this? Is it apartment, single family, or are you seeing that it works across the board of whether it's in a high rise, it's a condo unit that's being, used as an Airbnb, or whether it's a single family home out in the burbs?
Yeah. So primarily our customers right now are single family homes and single family rentals. We work best for that, as well as, we can't multifamily as well. We're still kind of exploring whether or not we are going to be able to support, full hotels, kind of the standard model of hotels, but definitely some of the, stay Alfreds, that are getting into kind of the multifamily home where they're taking over floors of the building. Yep. And there are multiple access points. We support, that kind of stuff. But as far as what doesn't work for us are probably rentals where you have owners living in them temporary, where they are renting them out, on the weekend and aren't there during the week. We work best because we are an automation platform at homes that are, full-time short-term rentals or rentals in general.
Yeah. No, I get that. And actually, I've only ever had one experience, but where we rented a place, and the owner had another place that they could, crash on the couch when they rented out their house.
Yeah.
I was like, I always thought that's got to be a funky way to live, because I'm like, I'm not so sure about that, man. Like, you're just gonna up and leave your whole life? Like, do you pack away your life? Like, what are you doing there? But anyway, I thought that was okay. That makes sense. So, all right. So you have to have a pretty good insight as to the most advanced like city or region when it comes to vacation rentals. Who do you think is on the forefront? What region is getting it right?
I think there's definitely some interesting stuff going on with that. I think a lot of the bigger players, the Lyrics, the Stay Alfreds, are really interested in this. I think a lot of it is all so new, though. We haven't seen anyone or in any region really that's a huge standout that's really kind of leading the way in this whole smart home automation aspect. I really can't think of, I think everyone's interested in it. Everyone wants it, but we're still really, really early on from figuring out or seeing someone do it really, really well that gets recognized for it.
Do you think that it's going to be tough? Like, do you see this as a hurdle for you? Like, property owners and even, full on super hosts have to learn how these systems work in order to adopt them? Like, is that a hurdle to you, or are people picking up on, I'm going to try out this tech because I think it might make my business better?
Well, from our perspective, from a software perspective, I don't think it's much of a hurdle for anyone to pick this up and say, do I have to learn how this works? Because really, you just connect your PMS or OTA, you install the hardware, you onboard your unit into our system, and everything just goes. There's not really much learning to be in besides understanding what the automations are, how they're happening. It kind of takes care of everything for you.
Got it. Yeah, and that probably then speaks to the product. I mean, and that's a great thing. It's going to probably be harder to find the right deal than it's going to be to set up some really nice automation inside the home, because it's shopping for deals right now is pretty tough. But it sounds like you guys have tried to remove as much friction from the process as possible and getting set up, which then extends down to the experience. And I love that. So are you guys just staying within inside the U.S., or are you also expanding and going outside the U.S.?
Yeah, so it's crazy actually. So we actually already have expanded outside of the U.S. We just onboarded a client in Toronto, and we've also gotten a lot of traction from outside of the U.S. From all sorts of different regions, and we're able to support that, which is great. It kind of it's interesting as you start to kind of explore the smart home market in different regions outside of the U.S. You have to understand that things run on different frequencies. There's different support in different regions, and you got to understand and be able to integrate with the hardware in different regions of the world, because it's not all the same. You think, you go to a website, you see that, this lock, from the US, you're like, okay, this lock probably works everywhere. Well, that's not actually the truth. And it's more interesting to learn about the different types of, let's say, doors, for example, that are kind of the standard door, outside of the U.S. We've gotten a lot of interest from Spain, and they use completely different types of doors, which require completely different types of locks than a lot of the standard doors that you'd find in the U.S. Or, you start having to think about sliding doors, et cetera, different types of things like that. It's interesting to see.
I literally have never thought about that. The only thing I've ever been familiar with is that Europe has different plugs, They have different outlets.
They do have, yep. This is also true.
So I can see that anything has to actually plug into the wall. Hardware has got to be a little bit different. But I never thought about doors and locks. That's a little bit further than I would have taken.
Thermostats. Well, Spain, they don't have a lot of standard HVAC systems, so they're using radiators, and so there's smart radiators out there.
Okay, all right.
It's a different type of setup. You think about New York apartments. Well, it's not always you're not always able to wire up an Echo Bee or another smart thermostat. You've got to be able to interact with the air conditioning unit that's in the window. It's lots of different situations out there.
That sounds like a pretty easy challenge for you guys. Sounds like an engineering nightmare, but I mean, I'm glad that you guys are taking that on and working on that. So what's been what's been a catalyst to your growth? I mean, yeah, people are looking for this, and people want to make more money with their short-term rentals. So they want it to be a cool spot or have a unique piece to it. But this is a space that is competitive right now. I'm noticing more and more services that are trying, like you said, saying they automate or saying they can make this stuff, whether it's coming from the hardware providers or other software. So what's been helping you guys achieve the growth that you've had so far?
Yeah, I think definitely the expertise that we have in the market for sure. The simplicity of our platform has helped a lot. The ease of use, the ease of onboarding, all of the systems that we connect and integrate with. I definitely think that's helpful. The amount of hardware devices and types that we support is helpful as well. So we're not always having to tell, customers they have to go buy an entirely new set of hardware. They have to replace everything. And also the fact that we use a lot of the products that we currently use are, something you can go pick up from a Best Buy or, some sort of technology store. We don't have a bunch of custom hardware that we have. These are things that are available to the public.
Got it. And then what do you think is going to take you guys to the next level? Is it just more of the same, or you have some secret strategies that you're employing on the marketing side?
Well, if I had secret strategies, I definitely wouldn't be talking about them. But definitely more of the same. And, just being able to, integrate with more and more, PMS and OTA systems, the partnerships that we're working on behind the scenes, and, our ability to execute on software and really bring everything into one central ecosystem. We had to build a lot of the, kind of the lock automations and things. And there are quite a few competitors out there doing that stuff, but we have much bigger ideas and things that we want to expand upon and things that we're working on that are in the pipeline to bring really truly all the physical, management aspects of the property into one system itself. One unique thing that we do that a lot of other kind of automation systems out there don't do is Wi-Fi management as well. We're also about to launch some TV management as well to be able to provide guests a better kind of hotel TV experience.
What does that mean, Wi-Fi and TV management? Like you control the channels that are available?
Yeah. So to speak to Wi-Fi management, allowing property managers to be able to monitor and manage their wireless networks remotely, being able to spin them up and down when guests are and aren't there, being able to segment them in multifamily homes so that, they're on a secure network like you would like to be at a hotel, being able to, allow property managers to have captive portals, collect guest information for remarketing purposes, et cetera, to be able to send guests to, once they connect to the Wi-Fi, helpful kind of pages about, maybe a check-in guide or a guidebook, something along those lines. And being able to monitor that remotely, that's really a big piece that you haven't really seen much. It was a problem we encountered. I mean, you think about, you manage in the short-term rental market, especially the single-family home market, you're going to have, say you have 40 properties, well, you're going to have 40 ISPs, you're going to have 40 routers. And say one day you want to be able to change every network name and password at once. Well, you have no choice right now but to go out to all 40 units and change those manually. So our solution allows you to do that all from one place at once in one place. And
I don't even want to do that if I have 3 units, let alone 40.
And then, it's interesting from a data perspective, what you're able to do to, monitor number of connected devices. And, that kind of can add another layer onto, some of this to detect, this kind of occupancy detection stuff that we've seen starting to grow with, noise monitoring, motion detection, et cetera. Being able to see the number of connected devices at the unit as well allows you to get a more accurate read on those types of things.
Yeah, because, I spent a year living in Nashville. Nashville is a hot destination city right now.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of Airbnbs. The city is trying to write regulations on regulations on regulations, squeezing Airbnbs as much as possible. And I'm not really so sure why. I don't know how much they get paid by the hotel industry. I'll go on record and say that. Hotel industry coming after Airbnbs. I'll be that guy. But it's true. Let's not beat around the bush on that. But, one of the things that I talked to a few people who run Airbnbs in the area is they put in the rules no parties, like no big parties, because it's known for the bachelor and bachelorette parties. Like there's bachelorette parties, especially every single day of the year. I mean, there's not a day you can't go down Nashville and see, there's a bachelor party running around the city. So, they rent out some of the homes and you're right. I mean, some of them probably book a 4-bedroom and squeeze in 12, 15 people. party style. So then that's what you're saying as far as like the occupancy, making sure that it's not unsafe levels or they're not hosting parties that have been prohibited. That way they at least adhere to maybe neighborhood rules or local ordinances that might be in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I think that combined with noise monitoring, if you're a property manager out there and you're listening to this podcast, sure everyone has heard of Noise Aware. They do a great job with what they do from a hardware perspective. We're working on integration with them right now. But being able to combine all those things together gives us a really accurate read on everything in one place. It's really interesting, to be able to have that stuff on record and be able to truly manage your physical property without having to be there.
That's so good. That's what gives the property managers a little bit of life back. So they're not babysitting all day long. I love it. That's so great. Is there one story you can share about something that you guys have tried that you figured out quickly, hey, this isn't going to work? Or maybe you had an idea and you pivoted away from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually got two ideas come to mind immediately. One, when we were starting off, and we started off as a property management company, as I've mentioned, and we started, when we were first trying to raise capital and really get this thing off the ground and get this thing going, we were getting more properties. We launched, our brand. We launched our website. We were attempting to be a brand in the industry, similar to, what Stay Alfred is doing, what Sonder is doing, what Domio is doing, what Nito is working on, and becoming a recognized brand in the industry. And, while we were building that brand, we also started building our internal, technology. And we realized, we didn't necessarily want to be the front facing brand. So we shifted from that to being the technology provider, hopefully one day, for those brands that can kind of power them on the back end. And so being the brand really wasn't working out for us as far as being able to raise capital in Charlotte. It's not the easiest thing to do. And so we pivoted and started, selling when we were building the technology internally, we were raising capital. We were, attempting to raise the barrier to entry for ourselves to be able to become who we were becoming. We were saying, we've built this technology internally. It's now harder to become us. And after getting told no enough times, we realized, hey, maybe this isn't the way to approach this. Let's actually, flip the script. Instead of raising the barrier to entry, let's lower the barrier to entry, release our internal solutions out to the world and let them use it and, pitch our company that way. And that's how we ended up pivoting into, a software company for sure. Mm-hmm. The second example that I can think of is, of something that has not worked for us are definitely, from being property managers and growing that business, some of the hardware solutions that we picked initially and pivoted from. And I think that's an interesting perspective to have from, it's interesting. There's some really cool technology out there from a locks perspective or thermostats perspective or, media streaming solutions that are really, really cool if you know how to use them.
Right.
And being property managers and, getting feedback from guests, we realized really quickly, hey, as nice as, I'll use an example here. That's a little bit bigger of a company, but let's, Apple TV, for example, fantastic interface, works really well. But for guests, no one knows how to use the remote of an Apple TV. No one gets it. No one gets that you can swipe, that it has to be charged, that it's, it has to be pointed at the TV to work. It just doesn't.
But it doesn't work. It's a pain.
Absolutely. And it just from a guest experience perspective, it's not a good experience.
No.
So we realized that after the fact, and we switched to Roku's because Roku works really well. They have a really good interface and their remotes are really simple. They take double A's. Everyone knows what a double A is.
Boom.
Everyone knows how to replace double A's.
I love, this can some of the stuff you can just trace back to what you're saying about lowering your barrier to entry. And while you're, improving on the tech experience and the service and overall feel of the rental, you're not trying to make the tenant suddenly have to learn a whole bunch of technology to get the benefit. Like just thinking through down to like the battery thing on the Apple TV. I've never had an Apple TV personally. I've seen them. I've used one or two, I've probably at other friends' houses, but I can personally relate to you. If I picked up the Apple TV remote and it didn't work, I wouldn't know. What do I do now? Go find a charger? I don't have a charger for this. I don't have one. I don't even have a TV. So, it's a little bit different, but those are great examples. And I dig the pivot that you kind of talked about with the branding. I mean, being a marketing guy, there is so much time, effort, and mass amounts of money usually into building a household brand. It is hard. At the end of the day, most people will never care about anything you say. I mean, it's so hard to really genuinely build that brand and connect. So I think that's probably a really valuable lesson for any founder listening to this that thinks that that's what they want to be. Maybe take a step back and reconsider that, because it is an expensive and difficult road to travel. That's for sure.
It absolutely, it's expensive to get that awareness. You've got to raise all that awareness, and it's really tough to do. And kudos to everyone out there in this industry doing that right now. Mad respect. I think that they're doing a great job at it. The ones that are really becoming more and more well known, they're doing a fantastic job. It's just not from what we're experts in internally as a team. We're better at building software and building solutions for those people who want to go out and figure out that problem. That's not the problem that we wanted to solve.
Yeah.
We wanted to solve a different problem.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. I want to touch on one thing. So, you kind of talked about it. Like you had to go through and raise some money. You guys have raised a little bit of money to get up to where you're at. Did you you first started off bootstrapped, but then you raised some money, right? What was the reason for raising money after you got up and running with bootstrapping?
So we wanted to. So we originally, again, started off as a property management company, and we wanted to continue to. We got to a point where we found that it could be a profitable business venture, and we wanted to accelerate the growth and expand and really impact this industry and change things. And in order to do that, we felt like we needed to raise some capital, and so we pursued that and accomplished that so that we could really build this software solution and get it out there into the world, so that we could change the way that properties are managed for it to, at the end of the day, create better guest experiences.
Very cool. And I've been talking to a handful of people also. Like I said, I don't know what it is. It's totally by chance, I think. The last 2 months, we've had several guests from the short-term rental space, and I've spoken with a few other companies and people raising money in that space. And so I want to talk about just the short-term rental space. We're seeing a lot of money come into it now, as well as the rest of real estate tech. Why do you think now, though? I mean, Airbnb has been around long enough to where the awareness has been there that there's big opportunity in the space. But why is it so recently that there's so much money being looked at and poured into this space, whether it be the automation or amenities or even how people, list and market these properties? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think like the time is right for us from a perspective of what we're doing from, home automation for rentals right now. The time is absolutely right. I mean, in 2017, we started and grew our PM business, learned the ins and outs of that, learned the operational pain points. I think that year, Cto also landed a $200 million, pretty significant. In 2018, Sonder, Domio, Stay Alfred all raised really significant rounds. At the beginning of this year, we launched our tech platform. Really close to the time Airbnb announced its, I think, $160 million investment into Lyric. And I think all of these players in the industry are really, really interested in, smart home technology and solutions to do what we've been talking about this whole time, which is creating better guest experiences. And they also want to automate, their manual processes and to keep their overhead low. As I've heard you talk about in other podcasts, and I agree, margins are tight in the property management business. And if you can, automate some of those processes, which this is a very automatable business, I believe the future of it is, I think the time is right for us to do that. And then, with the market estimated to have 15 million listings in 2020, I mean, we're, right there, right on time to, really help kind of shape and mold this kind of smart home industry that for rentals that is growing.
That's amazing. And I think I align with you. Right now, I feel the exact same thing. Mostly in real estate, we are just in an extraordinary moment in time where tech and real estate coming together. We are seeing tectonic plate shift movements as I describe them. And I hope I don't look like a fool by saying that in a few years. But I feel like we are still in some areas, it's just still so early. And I think the time is right. So I totally align with you on that one. Well, let's shift a little bit here because this is going to take us right into the next segment, which is my favorite part of the show. It's a game I like to call For the Future. So For the Future is a segment where I get to ask each guest who comes on the show to give their best predictions based on the following 4 questions. James, are you ready to play?
I am ready, Nate.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready.
Question number 1, what does Rabu look like 1 year from now?
Really, really good question, Nate. I think 1 year from now, I see us being a completely hardware agnostic automation platform where we are handling all physical aspects for property managers and also for the bigger brands, most likely integrating into their guest-facing solutions for their company, enabling them to, truly provide these better guest experiences and leverage these IoT devices that we're helping manage from within the home.
All right. Question number 2, what does the housing market look like 1 year from now?
So I'm not a real estate expert, but I think the housing market is going to continue growing. I think from a rental perspective, it's going to keep growing as projected. And we're going to continue to see growth in, short-term rentals. I would hope that we start to see houses become a big part of the sharing economy, similar to all these Lime bikes and Owl scooters and everything we've seen out on the streets, or Uber, all these things that we're now starting to share. I hope homes, and I think smart home technology and IoT devices can really help with this. But I hope that they start to become these kind of fluid things that people can be in and out of easily.
I've got some follow-ups on that, but we'll save that for another show. Question number 3, what's one industry trend you think will continue but you wish would go away?
Okay. This one I definitely would. I have something that comes to mind from a property management and manager, with my property manager hat on, essentially. Coming from the booking sources that are out there right now, I think there's a lack of guest verification on some of these platforms, and would love to see that become stronger as we, move forward. But I'm not sure that we'll be able to do that easily. I think there'll need to be something interesting to happen there to have that go away completely.
I think that's a really interesting point, because this has always been at some of the topic of short-term rentals, especially with Airbnbs, of how do you know who everyone is, who they say they are? I mean, I think it's an important question to ask. How do you know who they are? And that's a really good point to bring up. It sounds like you don't want to call anybody out, so I'll leave it at that.
I think, and to add to that a little bit, like my thoughts on it are, I think one, there's a couple of ways you could approach this. One could be, something like the Ring doorbell, where you're able to do some sort of facial detection, that kind of stuff. I know that's really scary to people right now.
And in San Francisco.
Yeah, true. Well,
kind of. They said facial recognition, totally different than Ring doorbells, but sure, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
So are rentals under 30 days right now, but in some places. But that's a way.
Moving here, we don't want to beat a dead horse here. So question number 4, what's one thing you believe will dramatically change or fade away in real estate as a result of technological advances?
Definitely, I think the amount of people that are required to run a property management business. I think as we advance in technology and true automation, the number of people required to actually physically manage and handle the properties will become less and less. We've got a lot of things out there right now that are helping with that, but I think, overhead will get much lower as we move forward.
Right there. Bingo. Couldn't have said better myself. We're going to move on to the last 3. James, these are questions more about you, so our listeners get to know you. Question number 1, what are you reading?
Okay, so I just started reading Blitzscaling by Reid Hoffman. Pretty popular book, but literally just picked it up a few days ago and started reading it. Really
based on the first few pages, would you recommend it?
Absolutely. Really good advice there for sure.
Awesome. Question number 2, who are you learning from?
So I think at our company, we have a really good culture of learning from our teammates, especially, my co-founder, Amir, who's our CEO, I've been working with for 6 years. We're, like brothers to each other. So learn from him a lot, learn from a lot of our teammates. And that's, we're around him every day. So that's who I primarily am learning from.
Very cool. And the last, number 3 of the last 3, what inspires you? 1,
the fact that I am not going to stop until I build something that absolutely changes an industry and the world. Mm-hmm. And 2, that the amount of change that's happening in this industry right now and the opportunity that that's bringing to the surface for us to really make an impact in, real estate, the short-term rental market, all of those things. And I mean, that makes me wake up every morning really excited to go into work and work on solving these problems.
Yeah, that's very cool. I love it. James, it's been great. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing about Rabu, what you guys are working on. It's interesting. I think I can see immediately how this would make some Airbnbs more fun, a better experience all the way around. And I think just the general, better management. I think it just makes everything better for everybody. So I love it. If people want to connect with you or learn more about Rabu, where do they go and how do they do that?
Yeah, so the easiest way to connect with me would be on LinkedIn, James Strong. You can look me up on there and add me as a connection. Would love to connect. And as far as connecting with Rabu, that would be, easiest way is via our website. That's rabbu.com. We have an intercom chat bubble that sits in the bottom right of our screen at all times. We are available 24/7 to chat with and would love to talk.
Very awesome. Well, cool, man. Well, thank you so much for your time and keep me posted on updates and big developments with you guys so we can continue this conversation. And I don't know, maybe we'll see you around at some point. I'm sure I'll get around a little bit. So hopefully I'll see you at an event. We'll get the chance to sit down and have a drink. But until then, you can, I'll cheers my LaCroix to your wine.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right, man. Catch you later.
Talk to you later, Nate.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening to the TechNest podcast. Hey, don't forget you can get on the email list so you never miss an upcoming episode. That's technest.io. That's technest.io. Get on the email list. Go to the App Store, whether you found us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you found us. Leave us a 5-star review and share it with your friends. And if you've got a guest or someone that you'd like to recommend, or if you think that you'd be a great guest on the show, hey, send me an email, nate@realteampanda.com. That's nate@realteampanda.com. See you guys later.